History textbooks often tell us stories of heroic kings, great battles, and the rise of empires. But if you flip that coin over, you find the dark side, a place where the light of civilization never touched. It is a place filled with the screams of half of humanity. For centuries, a woman's body did not belong to her. It was a battlefield where society enforced its power and sick control. Today, we are not telling fairy tales. We are descending into damp dungeons and blood-soaked town squares to witness the cruelest inventions of mankind. From flames that consumed the innocent to cold metal machines designed specifically to crush the most feminine parts of the human form. Steel yourself. Take a deep breath. Because we are about to stare directly into the eyes of a devil disguised as justice. Let's begin with a nightmare you've seen in movies, though the reality was 1,000 times worse. Burning at the stake. This wasn't just an execution, it was a performance art of agony, staged to terrify the masses. In the Middle Ages, when plague and famine struck, society needed a scapegoat. And who was the easiest target? Women. Widows, healers, or anyone who dared to look a man in the eye. Imagine being tied to a rough wooden post in the center of a town square. Beneath your feet lies not solid ground, but piles of dry wood soaked in oil. Surrounding you are thousands of eyes, not looking at you with pity, but with excitement and rage. They believe the fire will cleanse your soul, but in reality, they just want to see you burn. When the torch is thrown, the first sound isn't the crackle of fire, it's the pounding of your own heart trying to burst out of your chest. When the flames lick your skin, the pain isn't immediate. First comes the heat, intense enough to dry every drop of moisture from your body. Your hair curls and ignites. Then, the nerves beneath your skin start firing alarms. It feels like millions of red-hot needles piercing every pore at once. But the fire isn't the worst part. It's the smoke. Before the flames consume you, thick, toxic smoke fills your lungs, choking you in darkness. Your eyes burn and go blind. Tears evaporate before they can even fall. History remembers Joan of Arc, burned in 1431 at just 19 years old. Witnesses said that as her flesh melted, she screamed for a cross to be held high so she could see it through the wall of fire. That scream wasn't just pain. It was the final resistance against a corrupt system. But if you think death is the worst fate, you are wrong. There were punishments designed not to kill you, but to turn you into a living joke. Have you ever been annoyed when someone interrupted you? Now multiply that frustration by 1,000. Enter the scold's bridle, or the brank. This was a special invention of England and Scotland, designed for women deemed too loud, nagging, or simply opinionated. It looked like an iron muzzle for a dog, but the inside was a mechanism of hell. The iron cage locked around the head. The key feature was a small metal plate, the curb plate, which was shoved into the woman's mouth to press down the tongue. But this plate wasn't smooth. It was often covered in spikes or a sharp blade. Try to swallow. You can't. Try to move your tongue to say, please. Immediately, the spikes tear into the muscle, filling your mouth with blood. You are forced into silence, choking on your own blood and saliva. But physical pain was only half the punishment. The bridle was designed to destroy dignity. These masks were often shaped like donkey ears, pig snouts, or devil horns. The woman, wearing this heavy iron cage, was chained and led through the town like a beast. Imagine being dragged through the streets you know so well. Neighbors who greeted you yesterday now point, laugh, and throw filth at you. You cannot speak to defend yourself. You are dehumanized. The device taught women a brutal lesson. Silence is survival. The humiliation left scars on the mind that lasted far longer than the cuts on the tongue. Do you think public shaming stopped there? No. They also had a game involving cold water, where the line between life and death was razor thin. If fire was for purifying, water was used to test the truth, with a logic so twisted it's laughable. Welcome to the ducking stool. This was a giant seesaw placed by a dirty river or pond. The woman was strapped into a chair at one end. At the other end, men controlled the lever. 1, 2, 3. Down. The chair is plunged into the freezing, murky water. Water rushes into the nose, ears, and lungs. Panic sets in, as oxygen is stolen away. Then they pull her up, let her gasp for air for a second, and plunge her down again. They repeated this until the victim was half dead or drowned. The horror lay in the witch's logic. If she floated, the pure water rejected her, meaning she was a witch and must be executed. If she sank and drowned, she was innocent. It was a perfect trap with no escape. We have covered fire and water. Now we move to cold steel and direct body violation. Warning, this section contains extreme body horror. Let's talk about the breast ripper, also known as the iron spider. The name tells you everything. This tool was used on women accused of adultery or unmarried mothers. It was a metal clamp with sharp, claw-like prongs. Usually, these claws were heated red hot over coals before use. The executioner would clamp these burning talons onto the woman's breast, the symbol of motherhood and femininity. Then, with a violent jerk, they pulled backward. Visualize the destruction of red-hot metal meeting soft tissue. It wasn't just a burn. It was an amputation. The claws tore through skin, fat, and muscle, physically ripping the breast from the chest wall. Blood poured out, mixed with the smell of burnt flesh. The victim was left with a gaping, ragged wound. In the filthy conditions of the Middle Ages, infection was guaranteed. Bacteria would eat deep into the chest cavity, causing a slow, agonizing death by fever and rot weeks later. This punishment didn't just ruin the body. It erased the woman's identity as a mother, turning her into a living scar, a walking warning to others. Is that the limit of cruelty? Not yet. Let me introduce you to an animal with no mercy, the Spanish donkey. The name sounds like a child's toy. The reality was one of the most haunting devices of the Inquisition. It was simple. A wooden beam shaped like a triangle with the sharp edge pointing up, standing on 4 legs like a horse. That sharp edge was the saddle. The woman was stripped naked and forced to straddle the sharp wooden ridge. Her entire body weight rested on her most sensitive area, the crotch. But gravity wasn't working fast enough for the torturers, so they tied heavy iron weights to her ankles. The laws of physics became the enemy. Can you imagine the sensation of your body being slowly split in half from the bottom up? As the weights pulled down, the sharp wood sliced through skin, muscle, and nerves, grinding against the pelvic bone. The pain wasn't a quick strike. It was a slow, deep invasion. The victim couldn't close her legs, couldn't stand, couldn't move. Struggling only made the wood cut deeper. Many women were permanently crippled, unable to walk ever again, or they died from massive blood loss and infection right there on the donkey's back. This device turned the simple act of sitting into a lethal torture, echoing screams through the centuries. And if being split from the outside wasn't enough, prepare yourself for a device designed to destroy you from the inside. The pear of anguish, a beautiful name for a sick invention. It was a metal device shaped like a pear, consisting of leaves that could expand when a screw was turned. It was designed to invade the body's natural orifices. For women accused of adultery or sleeping with the devil, the pear was inserted into the most private parts of their anatomy, or sometimes the mouth. Once the cold metal was inside, the torturer turned the key. Slowly, the metal leaves opened, expanding the device far beyond the body's natural limit. Imagine a hard, metal object growing larger and larger inside you. The muscles stretched to the breaking point, and then snap. The pear wasn't designed to kill instantly. It was designed to mutilate internally. It tore soft tissue, ruptured organs, and broke jawbones if used in the mouth. The pain came from the inside out, a place you cannot touch, cannot soothe. It was the ultimate violation of bodily integrity. Whether it was widely used or just a threat, its existence proves a pathological desire to humiliate and control women in every possible way. Finally, we arrive at the throne of hell, the iron chair. If you think sitting is resting, this chair will ensure you never want to sit again. The iron chair, or chair of pain. Picture a heavy armchair made entirely of iron, but instead of cushions, every inch, the back, the seat, the armrests, the leg rests, is covered in hundreds of sharp spikes. The victim is forced to sit. Immediately, spikes puncture the skin of the back, buttocks, and legs. But that's not all. The executioner tightens leather straps, pressing the body firmly against the metal points. The tighter the straps, the deeper the spikes go, hitting bone. Blood begins to ooze from 1,000 tiny wounds. But the true horror is underneath. Beneath the seat, they placed a pan of burning coals. The iron conducted the heat. The spikes, buried deep in the flesh, began to heat up. The victim was not just being impaled, she was being slowly roasted alive. The double agony of puncture and burn overwhelmed the nervous system. Inquisitors used this to force confessions. And you know what? Faced with that level of pain, victims would confess to anything. They would admit to being witches, to killing kings, to flying on broomsticks, anything to make it stop. This chair wasn't a tool for truth. It was a machine that manufactured lies written in blood. When we look back at these blood-soaked pages of history, what do we see? We don't just see metal and fire. We see the fear of a patriarchal society. They feared independent women, they feared female knowledge, and they feared anyone who defied their control. Because of that fear, they created monsters of iron to suppress the female spirit. But despite the fire, the water, and the steel, the spirit of those women was never truly extinguished. The cries of Joan of Arc and the silence of the unnamed victims still echo today, reminding us of the price of freedom and dignity. This dark history is a lesson. When power is unchecked and fanaticism rules, humans become devils to their own kind. How do you feel after walking through this dungeon of history? Horrified? Angry? Let me know in the comments below. If this video opened your eyes to the shadows of the past, please hit like and share. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. I have many more files on humanity's darkest secrets waiting to be opened. See you in the next nightmare.